Who are some deep second round guys the Knicks could potentially look at with their 50th pick in the draft? I've got my buddy Prez from the Strickland on to give his takes on some of the best names that could be available for the Knicks when they pick at 50 in the NBA draft right now on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. And today, I am joined by my buddy Prez of The Strickland. We got a nice little bonus episode for you guys. There's two parts prior to this. So if you haven't listened to those already, be sure to listen to those. First part, we sort of get into the more nuts and bolts of this draft, how Prez feels about this class overall, what the Knicks strategy should be going into this draft. So kind of the top-down level stuff of how the Knicks should approach the draft. Then in the episode previous to this one, we talk about some of the specific names that Prez has on an upcoming piece for the Strickland about the second round and guys that the Knicks should be looking to go after. He's got a list of, I think, a couple dozen guys that could potentially be available at pick 50 that he's kind of tier listed a little bit and group by position, all kinds of stuff. It's a great article that's going to be coming out. But for last episode, we go over a number of those names that I chose. This episode, we're going to be talking about some of the names that I didn't bring up that Prez still feels passionate about. So I asked Prez to just give me the pitch on a few other prospects that he feels good about that maybe he's a little higher on than consensus. So he breaks those down for me. And we delve into last year's draft a little bit and just kind of try to figure out how that might inform what the Knicks do in this year's draft. So lots of great stuff coming up on this mini episode of Locked On Knicks. But first, I want to thank you all for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today and every day, whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in sights and sounds on YouTube. We appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit the auto download function on your favorite podcast app or the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. So without further ado, let's get into it with this nice bonus episode with Prez. All right, so we've kind of reached the point where I think we're getting towards the end here. So I don't want to leave out anyone that you feel passionate about that I didn't bring up off your list already, or that you've been thinking about potentially for the Knicks. So are there any last names you want to rattle off real quick and give the quick elevator pitch for that I didn't bring up already in terms of guys you'd be looking at either where the Knicks currently stand or potentially for a modest trade up like in the early second round or something like that?
Yeah. I guess one guy who's really interesting to me, the one guy who's really interested to me is Kobe Sanders. He plays for Nevada, and therefore he has like no buzz because they're not particularly good. And he's a senior. He's older, so he's going to be 23 as a rookie. And he's not super athletic. But he's genuinely almost 6'9", played point guard at time, and is a pretty freaking good shooter off the catch. And his numbers probably undersell how good he shoots. Generally, if someone's a really good pull-up shooter from two and from free throw, and their three-point numbers are a little low, I consider it like a little noisy, and he kind of fits that bill. So anytime you can get somebody who could dribble, pass, shoot, and has high assist to turnover ratio, tends to know what's going on. He can play both a connector role and initiator. You know, you probably wouldn't have him playing as an initiator in the NBA. You would want him to be a connector. So this is somebody who can run weak side actions, who can put it on the deck and then also kick out or drop it off to a big. His defense is okay. He's skinny, so he could definitely use pro weight training and probably a couple burgers, but he's not prohibitively skinny either. So again, kind of a deep cut wing, and older wings are very tricky. So there's real bust potential there if he's just like if he just doesn't have it physically. And then the last guy I'll flag, because it's between him and one other player for me as like fun flyers, and it's this dude who actually we had on our socials for a post, Mohamed Diawara. He's playing in Europe. He's a wing. He's 6'9" with a 7'4" wingspan, and he's only 20 and a half. And he's built like a man. He's strong as hell. And he his jumper looks decent. He only shoots 55 from the line and 30% from three in the small sample size of this European season. So he actually has shot terribly. But I'm pretty convinced they could get him to passable. The more weird, inexplicable thing to me is this guy is like kind of jacked 6'9", 7'4" wingspan, and literally his block rate is below 1, which to me is like mind explodingly bad. Like, I'm pretty sure you could put any 6'9" NBA player with a blindfold on and they would still have a block more than 1% of the time playing defense on somebody. Like, it's alarmingly, you have to be alarmingly confused to not run into some blocks at that size. So I don't know what I'm not going to pretend I've locked into his games, but this guy has bounce. He could kind of put it on the deck. His form looks all right. I'm like, to me, this guy looks like a great NBA flight. He's the kind of player who they could waste a pick on him and I would completely not care. I'd like go swing for the fences. This is like, this pick for the Knicks, you're already basically, if this is a baseball game, this is the 9th inning and the 8th inning and you're up by like 6. Like, you can just waste a pitch and just swing as hard as you can. And, you know, if it doesn't work out, fine, swing for contact next time around. But like, it's okay now. Like, how many times have we talked about, like, I wish the Knicks would take the high upside guy, right? Like, and Dadier was kind of like that, but do it again for all I care. So he's my last guy.
Yeah, I mean, looking at him, he was one guy that actually, it's been the reason you brought up that, you know, we covered it on Strickland socials, is he's one of the few guys that it's come out the Knicks are apparently actually looking at and having in for a draft workout or a pre-draft workout, which we haven't really heard much about that yet. I'm sure that we will in the coming weeks, you know, like with pretty much every year. I'm sure as soon as the NBA finals are over, then it's draft workout season. These teams will be having guys in en masse for workouts, and it'll be more widely reported because that's more the news at the time. But there's already been an early scoop that that's a guy that they're potentially interested in. And I'm kind of with you. Like, if there's not someone, if they're not thinking of trading up from the 50th pick, and then 2, if someone doesn't, that they have ranked highly that they think can contribute right away, doesn't inexplicably fall to them, yeah, go for someone who's you know, has all the physical intangibles that you can't teach a 7'4" wingspan on a 6'9" player, and, you know, someone who's bouncy and, you know, a good athlete and whatever. But you can teach, you know, someone who's a younger player defensive principles and all that sort of stuff, and potentially harness that physical ability that he has. Now, as far as Diawara is concerned, I think he's how old is he? He is
20
going to
and a
be,
half. Or he's
yeah,
20 right now.
just over 20. So I mean, yeah, that's another guy too. That's like sort of a ball of clay. Pair him with his countryman Pacom Dadier on the Knicks, and suddenly maybe you're cooking something there with your future wing rotation. Or maybe you do just enough with them in the G League to turn them into attractive trade chips and send them somewhere else. I don't know.
Let Coach Sagana job cook.
We'll see. We will see what he can do at the G League level. All right, I'll be right back in with Prez to close out this 3-part podcast, reflecting on last year's draft and what the Knicks did last year, how it could potentially affect what they do this year. So that's coming up in just a moment. But first, I wanted to remind you all that today's episode is brought to you by CarGurus. And shopping for a car should be exciting, not exhausting, but between the confusing prices and hidden fees, it can feel overwhelming. That's why I love using CarGurus. They help you cut through the noise and show you the best deals with full confidence. With over 4 million listings, CarGurus has more new and used cars than any other major online marketplace in the US. They verify dealers, provide real price analysis, and give you the tools and data you need to make the right choice without second guessing yourself. And I've been using this a lot. I'm trying to get what at the moment is kind of my dream car. I want a Rivian R1T. I drove one once. It was amazing, but well out of my price range for a while. Luckily, used ones are starting to pop up now that could maybe be in what I'd consider a comfortable price range. So I've been looking at CarGurus all the time, waiting for that perfect deal to pop up. Hopefully it'll come soon, and then I can come give my even more ringing endorsement. But for now, the pricing tools are fantastic. It's really helped me inform my decision and honestly not pull the trigger on a car that's not a good deal. So that I am very thankful for CarGurus for. So buy or sell your next car today with CarGurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com, cargurus.com. And today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at WayFair. And there's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal oasis. And if you're wanting to update your patio this season, WayFair has made it so easy to turn it into a space that feels like yours, comfortable, stylish, and ready for summer. WayFair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space: conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like giving your backyard that resort feel without the resort price tag. And my wife and I moved this year. We have a deck that needs some furnishing, and I've been looking at Wayfair. I haven't quite pulled the trigger yet because I'm trying to plan it around my grill. The grill is very important to me. I'm looking forward to grilling a lot on this new deck, but we want kind of a conversation set hybrid where it also has a table that you can eat at. So I've been pretty picky, but we've got a lot of stuff carded. We just got to kind of pare it down and find the set of our dreams now. But I'm pretty confident based off some of the reviews that we're going to find something pretty great. So don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now and shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Prez, last thing that I just wanted to touch on before we get off here. So this year, obviously, there seems to be less in the Knicks court in terms of what they might do in the draft. I guess briefly to close, looking back to last year, how do you feel about how the Knicks approached the draft last year? And do you think there's anything potentially that could inform how they might approach the draft this year in terms of what they did a year ago with their draft picks?
Well, I'll end where we started. I think a big reason they took 4 players was cap stuff. I think they wanted a player with upside at Pacom's like salary, him taking 80% of what the 25th pick or whatever was eligible to take. They wanted a second player who they really liked as a ball handler. And they wanted other guys they could bet on with two-way contracts, and if they popped, then you could convert them, with McCullough, who was an injury bet, and Porty, who was also an injury bet, both of two archetypes they kind of could use, right? Like a do-it-all wing and a rim-running big. So, you have to kind of first answer the question, like, what salary slots do the Knicks need to fill, depending on if they do any trades? And then, do they value any players this year as with regards to filling those slots more than they do, say, Kevin McCullough or Ariel Porty, which I don't think they will, but like, there's a good chance that someone like Kevin McCullough is not on the roster because we know they like Kolek, we know they like Porty, and we know Dadier had a first-round pick invested in him, so he's staying put. So at that point, you're looking at 1, maybe 2 slots, depending on how Vetman signings go. And, so if you're the Knicks, you're like, okay, we have 1 or 2 salary slots to fill instead of 4. So I doubt we're going to see another onslaught of picks like last year, but that's okay because I think the guys last year will stick around and hopefully play more.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I feel the same way. I think that I'm very much like to bring it full circle, like what we talked about with the coaching search earlier in the episode. I'm kind of at peace with whatever happens in the draft because ultimately, like at the end of the day, they kind of already covered all the bases last year. Like they got a backup big potentially in Hukporti. They got a wing prospect in Pacom. They got a potential backup point guard in Kolek. And McCullough, I think, showed some real Swiss Army knife potential and possibly really, really big draft steal from last year, getting him in the 50s as well. When there was just kind of like some injury concerns with him that he ultimately, I think, dispelled by the end of the year and played quite well for the G League, and then even got a few minutes for the Knicks down the stretch. But we'll see where it all goes. We got just a little longer to wait for the draft. But Prez, thanks so much for coming on. And is there anything other than obviously the second round Flyers piece, which I think I've sufficiently teased and which informed me throughout this episode? You also have a piece coming out on a sort of retrospective on the Tibbs tenure on the Strickland. But is there anything else that you want to promote before I let you go here?
No, that's it. That's all I got for now.
I'm nothing if not a good PR person. So thanks so much, Prez, for popping on. And thank you everyone for listening. And we'll be back hopefully with a little more draft content before the draft. But that's all we got for today. Prez, thanks one more time for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. And as always, appreciate you getting me somewhat ready for the draft. And I think I've got some homework to do now and some really intriguing names to take a look at.